how everything all seems to fall together when it's supposed to fall together the way it does sometimes. I want to say good morning again, and especially to anyone who's out there on the live stream today, that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you are a part of our spiritual community, and we welcome you. We continue with our series today on chanting, and this one is of particular significance because it has meaning that all of us can understand with the present day situation and the world strife, as Brad so beautifully pointed out. We do know that from what happened in Croatia, Yugoslavia, that the possibility of peace is a possibility. And so we just know that for all parts of the Middle East. Well, like many mantras, this one begins with Om. And Om has no real meaning, I found out in doing my research. And its origins are lost in the mists of time, as the saying goes. Well, Om is considered to be a primeval sound, and it is the sound of the universe. It is the sound from which all other sounds are formed. And this is how it is said in most Eastern traditions. In the Brahminical tradition, from where Buddhism undoubtedly obtained mantra practice, Om is not just the universal sound, but the sound of the universe itself. For example, in the non-Buddhist Upanishad, it is said Om, the syllable, this is the syllable of the whole world. This is what it says in the Upanishads. Its further explanation is the past, the present, and the future. Everything is just in the one word, Om. So, and whatever else that transcends threefold time, that too is the word Om. So it's not only the five sensory, the worlds of weights and measures. Om has meaning in that area. It also has meaning in the spirit at the spiritual level. Om is therefore a sound symbolizing reality. It represents everything in the universe, everything. And it even represents everything that is outside of the three times, past, present, and future. It is therefore representative both of the mundane world of time, in which the mind normally functions, and the world as perceived by the mind that is awakened and that experiences the world timelessly. And we have experiences like that during our meditation and our prayer sometimes. And sometimes when we're listening to a piece of music that is transcendent in its proportion, we can get to what they deem as the Om stage. It represents both enlightenment and non-enlightenment. So it encompasses everything. You could regard Om as being the equivalent of white light. It said in one of the things I looked up, in which all the colors of the rainbow can be found. Isn't it interesting that a word that is supposedly has no meaning has all this meaningful representation? It just occurred to me as I was writing this last night. One Sanskrit English dictionary says the following: it is a word of solemn affirmation and respectful assent, sometimes translated by yes, verily, so be it, compared with amen. It is placed at the commencement of most Hindu works, and as a sacred exclamation may be uttered at the beginning and the end of the reading of a Veda or previously to any prayer. It is also regarded as a particle of auspicious salutation. So you could actually walk down the street and go Om to anybody that you met, and they would think you were nuts, but you would understand completely what you were doing instead of saying hello. As in the old days, they used to say hail or ave, or instead of saying hello, you just say Om, Om. Om first appears in the Upanishads as a mystic monosyllable and is there set forth as the object of profound religious meditation. The highest spiritual efficacy being attributed not only to the word, the whole word, but also to the three sounds that come out of the word, A-U-M, of which it consists, Aum. But we don't do it like that. We just do Om. It's worth bearing in mind that Sanskrit was the language not only of later Buddhism, but of the Hindu and pre-Hindu Vedic traditions as well. In Buddhist texts, as far as I'm aware, Om is never seen as being comprised of AUM. I have never seen it written that way. It's always written OM. Shanti, on the other hand, is a word rife with meaning. And Shanti simply means peace. That's what it means. It's a beautiful meaning and also a beautiful sound. And if you could have seen me this morning when I sat down at my computer and I could not download my talk, I have a Dropbox that connects to from my home computer to my computer here at church. And I came in fully expecting to go in, pull up the name of the talk and print it, and it wasn't there. And so interesting for me that I had to go home and get my other computer with very little time, and I shantied all the way home. I did, because I thought to myself, I've been hacked a couple of weeks ago, and I thought something dreadful has happened, but I shantied. I kid you not. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti was my mantra all the way home. Peace, peace, peace. And in the Buddhist tradition, it's done 3 times. I must have done it 30. So I think I'm really prayed up this morning. Really prayed up. It was interesting to find out that when I came back, our wonderful Linda Rojo had already printed out the talk. This was an exercise in futility for me, but it was an exercise in maintaining a peaceful presence while I was driving home and coming back, because it was there all the time. I just didn't see it. And sometimes that's the way of the world, isn't it? Whatever it is that we need to know was there all the time. We don't have our eyes open properly to be able to see it. In Buddhism as well as Hinduism, the threefold Shanti is generally interpreted as meaning the threefold peace in body, speech, and mind. The peace is the entirety of one's being. It isn't just having peaceful thoughts, but it's having a peaceful body to where everything maintains its equilibrium. And it's also having peaceful speech so that when we speak to anyone, we speak to them with kindness and generosity. Hindu teachings typically end with the words Om Shanti, 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 as an invocation of peace. And the mantra is also used to conclude some Buddhist devotional ceremonies. So let's break it down really in terms of what we know in the science of mind. Om is the beginning and the end of all that is. Shanti, peace in body, speech, and mind. And if we focused our attention on the peace that is the beginning of and end of all that is, our lives would look different maybe than they do today. Wouldn't that be true? Yes. I'm going to say yes for all of us, because I think our attention to the details of life sometimes gets in the way when the things that are getting our attention are the difficulties of life, are the things that cause us a moment's pause, or that as someone shared this past week, we have these buttons that people push periodically. And the reality is that I may have buttons, but you didn't install them. I installed them for myself. And so I realized that if we focus our attention on the peace primarily means inner rather than outer peace, because there's going to be stuff going on at the level of effect all over the place. And if we react to it all the time, then we are going to have a less than peaceful countenance. Through practice, it's possible to cultivate a still mind, even in surroundings that appear to be anything but tranquil. And I have watched people who can do this. It's definitely helpful to have peaceful surroundings for the development of meditative states of mind, but if one cultivates a mind that is completely non-reactive, then it's possible. It's not only possible, but it's probable to peacefully accept the presence of noise and bustle around us and still manage in spite of it. I used to know a family when I was taking, when I first started doing transcendental meditation about 1989, I think it was. We used to go for what they called TM checks at the center in Ojai every couple of weeks. And there was a family, the Petersons, who lived in Oxnard, who had 2 children. And they would go to Disneyland with their children, and they would do their 4 o'clock afternoon meditation sitting underneath the flagpole by the train station at Disneyland. Now, can you imagine the peace and tranquility that these people radiated with their children sitting there in peaceful silence for 20 minutes while Disneyland was still going on all around them? I mean, it's a lofty ideal to think that we could do something like that. In the long term, however, some eternal quiet is indispensable for the arising of deep mental tranquility. I think we need to find that place of peace periodically, and I happen to be able to do that first thing in the morning. It works for me, and provided, of course, the ducks and the geese from Westlake are cooperating. Sometimes not so much, but we meditators do need to find quiet places for their practice. You know, sometimes it's sitting out in the backyard among the plants. It could be, you know, having a particular chair that you like to sit in that evokes that sort of tranquility. Ernest Holmes would regularly sit in his garden at his home, sometimes for hours on end, and without speaking to another person, because he needed to buoy himself up so that he could then have a peaceful countenance for everybody who came to him. To say that inner peace is what's important doesn't mean, of course, that we can be internally peaceful and yet be caught up in all kinds of arguments and fights. It simply means that it's not possible for us to be in harmony with others unless we've learned to develop a certain harmony within ourselves. This is just the basic bottom line of our teaching. From the Dhammapada, it says, the person who dwells in loving kindness, who trusts in the Buddha's teaching, attains to that state of peace, the blissful fading away of conditioned things. That means we're not affected by things out there in the relative world. We may notice them, we may observe them, but we are not deeply affected by them. And I would like to say that this would be the ideal. And I would like to say that I've arrived and I can do that all the time. But that's not entirely true. I have moments of feet of clay, as the saying goes, where sometimes I am deeply affected by what goes on around me. Microphones falling on the floor at my feet, for instance. I'm not deeply affected by that, just marginally affected by it. But loving kindness helps us to still the mind by letting go of conflict. Loving kindness, that's our being able to see the light of God in every person, no matter what their behavior is, in spite of their behavior. Now breathe on that one, because I could have given you all a silver bullet coming in here this morning. It's being able to see the light of God in every person in our lives. The people we see on the news, that dreadful person who cut you off on the freeway, everyone. As I'm sure we're all aware, our hostile or defensive reactions to others are a major source of inner turmoil. And our ideal would be to remain objective and to be able to look at that and say, wow, isn't that an interesting demonstration of God in action? You know, if the cultivation of loving kindness helps us to be more compassionate and less reactive, I'm up for that. I'm really up for that. So the blissful fading away of unconditioned things, as it says in the Dhammapada, refers to the mind becoming purified of delusion, aversion, and grasping tendencies that distort our view of the world and prevent us from experiencing true happiness. So, as we've been doing in the past couple of weeks, this would be the time for us to go to that perfect place of peace within. And we are going to do our chant that we have been doing. And for those of you who haven't been here for the last couple of weeks, it's a very easy chant. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God's the love I am. Sherry will help us with that. So if you wouldn't mind closing your eyes this morning and getting really in touch with it.
God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God's the love I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God's the love I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God's the love I am.
So, that is the way in which we come to that peaceful place. For that few seconds that we were chanting, there's no way that one can have a thought that is anything except loving kindness. Ernest Holmes would tell us to let go of the relative and to maintain a more in-depth relationship with the divine. So how do we do that as individuals? How do we do that? Every person is going to find a different way to reach that place of loving kindness, to where peace is the essence of our spiritual life, and not only our spiritual life, but our life at the world of effect. In yet another Dhammapada verse, the Buddha said that it's by practicing peace, rather than by adopting the clothing or trappings or lifestyle associated with being religious, that one lives a truly spiritual life. You know, we don't have to wear sackcloth and ashes or orange robes or habits to be religious or spiritual. We can be in the world and still maintain a certain level of equilibrium in all the chaos that seems to be going on around us, which means, though it says, though well dressed, not wearing the clothing of a religious practitioner, for instance, if he should live in peace, it says again in the Dhammapada, with restraint and self-control, living with pure ethics, laying aside violence toward all living beings, he indeed is a holy one, a renunciate, a member of the spiritual community. That's all we have to do. That's all we have to be. Taking peace into the world. How would we do this? How would we take our own selves into the world in a peaceful way? Well, one of the ways is by being part of the solution and not part of the problem. As we do this, we take peace into our world. Instead of seeing everything as a problem, we begin to look at it differently and see things as solution-oriented. What could I do differently that would create peace in the world and in my world? In my world first, and then in the world at large. Living ethically is also both an expression of a peaceful state of being and a path to peace. In Buddhist ethical practice, or in any spiritual practice for that matter, this means abstaining from actions that cause harm to ourselves or to other people. And we do that in irreverent speech sometimes. We cause harm to others. We do it in irreverent thoughts toward other people, because if we think that people don't feel the consciousness of judgment or resentment from us without our having to say anything, we're wrong about that. Because Ernest Holmes maintains that our consciousness comes before us in all things. that we can be in the presence of somebody else and that somebody else can feel whatever it is that we're thinking. And that's kind of a difficult place sometimes to be in. You know, it would be like we had a ticker tape running across our forehead. Would we want that? Would we want everybody to see what we're thinking on a daily basis? No, I wouldn't. I would be ashamed sometimes. So in other words, in spiritual practice, we cultivate inner peace, but also take peace into the world by practicing loving kindness and compassion and by living ethically. The bare minimum is trying to avoid causing physical harm through direct physical actions or through encouraging others to cause harm. That's obvious. That's obvious. Ernest Holmes says that when we step away from the desire to harm another person, we step away from the desire to harm ourselves. We have to start somewhere. Building people up instead of tearing them down can be the beginning of loving kindness. And how wonderful to be able to have a third person come across a conversation that you're having only to be told that we were saying wonderful things about you behind your back, instead of what usually happens, right? Yeah. So learning to see the behavior of others as separate from who they are as spiritual beings. I know this is difficult sometimes. I know it's very difficult to separate the act from the actor. But our teacher, Ernest Holmes, talks about that ad nauseum in the Science of Mind, that our job as spiritual beings is to separate the behavior from the spiritual being. Being in service to another is a significant way, in a significant way, goes a long way in the loving kindness sense. Listening to another with the ears of God, while having compassion for another person's problem, we don't have to get in the muck and mire with them. That's another way of maintaining a peaceful countenance. All the other ethical precepts, not taking that which is not freely given, avoiding misconduct, avoiding misleading speech, avoiding intoxication, are ways of living out the first precept. We all carry the burden sometimes of past indiscretions or mistakes that we've made when we weren't aware. So today is about peace, but it's also about forgiveness, so that every one of us here is totally forgiven for any past mistake that was ever made. I'm here to tell you that. Breathe into that. I am free. I've given you absolution this morning. Even if you're not Catholic, you should understand. In nomine Patris et Filii. You know, it's so interesting to have somebody say that everything that you've ever thought, done, said in the past that might have caused harm is now forgiven. They come up periodically, don't they, to challenge our peacefulness. All those past things. And the following story best illustrates what I mean by that. A psychologist walked around a room while teaching a stress management class to an audience. And as she raised a glass of water, everyone expected her to ask the question, half empty or half full, right? We see that and hear that a lot. But she had a smile on her face, and instead she inquired, how heavy is this glass of water? The answers came from 8 ounces to 20 ounces. She replied, the absolute weight does not matter. It depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, it's not a problem. If I hold it for an hour, I'll have an ache in my arm. If I hold it for a day, my arm will feel numb and paralyzed. And in each case, the weight of the glass doesn't change, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes. She continued, the stresses and worries in life are like that glass of water. Think about them for a while and nothing happens. Think about them a bit longer and they begin to hurt. And if you think about them all day long, you will feel paralyzed, incapable of doing anything. Remember, put the glass down. Whoa, yes, yes, yes. So I'm offering you the opportunity for peace today by putting the glass down of whatever it is that you might have brought in here today or that you're carrying around with you. If we have unresolved stresses and worries in life, the chant Om Shanti Shanti Om would be something that we might be able to use to distract us from the memories of these unresolved issues. Sherry. So today again, the chant. All unresolved issues now fade away into the nothingness with this chant. Please do close your eyes and go within to do the God is the love that I am.
Oh.
No.
We didn't know if you wanted Om Shanti.
No, we'll do that one at the end.
Right on.
Yes.
God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am.
God is the love that I am. God's the love I am.
God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God's the love I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am. God's the love I am.
Mark Twain said, I've worried about a million things in my life that never came to pass. Om is respectful agreement and Shanti is peace. In other simpler words, Om Shanti means yes, peace. When that gnarly feeling comes up in the pit of your stomach, think about Om Shanti, Om, yes, peace. And it can be implemented anytime, anywhere to dissolve whatever angst might appear. It's simple and easy spirituality, knowing that with God, all things are possible. Please join me in consciousness. And so as we go within to that perfect place of peace, as always, that inner sanctuary, where nothing has ever been violated, where we know nothing outside that pure essence of spirit, Om Shanti becomes a reality. It is that place within, that peaceful place within, that perfect place within, that we take with us everywhere we go. And we can call upon it at a moment's notice. As we move into the awareness that peace is possible, that whatever it is that we notice at the world of effect, it is simply, as always, a call to prayer. And that call to prayer can be simply a short prayer, Om Shanti, yes, peace. Because we know that whatever is in the world of effect that causes disagreement or challenge or upset, it is because there are unmet expectations. There is something that I am perceiving or projecting that is not necessary, nor is it even real. And so as I step back and I look at my world objectively and I become the observer, that observer is the God presence within me that sees only good and loving kindness and generosity of spirit. So from that essence of the God presence within me, I know that peace is possible because I am peaceful, the community is peaceful, and the world is peaceful. And so today we just simply acknowledge that God is good, God is loving, God is supportive. God is generous. And from that place, as the observer of my world, I am all those things as well. And so I release my word to the law today, knowing for everyone here, as I've spoken in the first person, I know that this is the truth. This is the way it is. All is well because God is in the mix, as we say together. And join in the chant.
When there is peace in my mind, there will be peace in the earth. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om. 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 Om Shanti Om. Peace inside of my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside of my heart, God and only God I live to see. Peace inside of my heart, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside of my heart, God and only God I live to see. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om. 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 Om Shanti, Om. Peace inside of the earth, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside of the earth, God and only God I live to see. Peace inside of the earth, God and only God is moving me. Peace inside of the earth, God and only God I live to see. Sing with me. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om. 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 Om.